So what's going on today, fellow wormers? This is New Era Gardener, and we're going to do a little talking about biochar, and we're going to look at some of my biochar, active biochar. That's what we're going to look at. All right, so this is some biochar that I just made this week, earlier this week. We had some rain, so I actually do it when it rains. This way I have no problems with the embers going onto my neighbor's property, igniting anything. So you got to take precautions when you're dealing with fire. So that's what I do. I do it mostly when it's raining. Actually, once I finish this video, I'm going to go out and make a batch of it. It's been raining kind of on and off all day, so I'm going to go make a batch. All right, so this is everything. This is after I crushed it. So usually what I do is I do a fire, and that fire gets extremely hot. I have a bucket with a top on it that I actually bolt down. I put the wood inside of it, and I actually put a fire around it. When that fire gets extremely hot, it actually will start to char the wood. And when it chars the wood, it lets out gases. And let me tell you something. I'm going to do a video of that, but it's like a blowtorch. I do my fire extremely hot. I want my biochar to really become biochar. So this is what we're left with. After I do the fire, I take it, I put it in a metal trash can that I actually have, fill it with water, and I actually quench it. And quenching it is just putting water on it, and the biochar sucks up the water. And once you start putting that water on it, you could actually hear the biochar sucking up the water. So that's a nice thing. So that's also how you know your biochar is ready. So in this, I'll just speak briefly about it. I actually sell biochar and active biochar. So what I do is I sift out the 3 different sizes of biochar. In this, I don't know if you could see, there's powder, what I call powder and flakes. There's nuggets, and then there's these really small nuggets. And I separate those, and that's how I sell it. I also sell biochar that I call as it comes. So after the process is done, you get everything. You get small, large, medium, powder. You just get a couple of scoops of this, whether you order a 5-pound or you order a 2-pound or a 10-pound. But this is what I do. So once I separate this, if I'm making fine biochar, I use the fine particles, the powder and the flakes, and some of the smaller stuff. And I actually make, that's what I call fine. Now my regular biochar gets the bigger pieces, all these bigger pieces. That's what you're going to get in your active biochar, or if you buy just biochar. So, excuse me, I like to, excuse me, I'm sorry. I like to do it that way because everybody has a different purpose for it. And in this way, if you get it in this form, you don't have to sift out all the powder, use the powder for what you want, and then continue to crush the bigger pieces. So that's the reason why I sell it that way. But someone who's added it into their garden, they're going to activate it, they're just going to throw it in their garden, this is the best way to do it. So, and I'll talk briefly about how I activate it. I don't do a liquid activation. Some people do a liquid activation. I could do that, but I don't do that. What I do is after I separate it, I add different minerals to it, one being rock dust, and I have 2. I have regular azomite and I also have the Glacier, um, which I don't really use that much. I use it for myself. It's a little more pricey, so I don't really use it to do my bulk. But I like that a whole lot better. If I can find it in big bags for a better price, then that's what I'll just use because I like the Glacier better. It has more minerals and things like that in it, better for your garden, your biochar or whatever. So one of the other things is I add into it. I add a little bat guano. I also add into mine. I add, um, like I said, rock dust. Um, I missed my train of thought there. I use rock dust. I also use the bat guano, not a lot. I also use um, alfalfa meal, and I also use kelp. And all those things, some of them have a lot of nitrogen in it, which is good for it, for your garden. But some of them just have a lot of trace elements into it. And I think that's what also activates the biochar. And then when you're mixing all those in, you want to mix it real good. And then also, I add in my fresh worm castings. And worm castings is what you get all your biology from, because of all the biology that's in the worm, that goes through the worm, through the food you give them, and their castings. It's very high in biology. So once you add that into it, that's your activation too, also. But to give those minerals and the microbes and fungi any type of food, you add flour. Um, Sometimes I use regular white flour, but majority of the time I use wheat flour, organic wheat flour. I like that a whole lot better. So I also add that into it, and then you mix all that up. But the reason you need moisture in the biochar when you're doing your active biochar. I've seen a lot of different ways. Some guys use liquid to activate their biochar, whether it's some type of worm tea, compost tea, or fish emulsion, or I even seen a guy use bat guano elixir and mixed it with water and soaked it in that. Um, so what if I'm going to make some for myself? What I probably will do is all the other minerals that I use. I may not quench the biochar at first. What I'll do is I'll just come in, crush it as it is. Then what I'll do is I'll separate what it is for what I'm doing, the fine and the nuggets. And what I'll do is I'll soak those two in C90, which is super high in minerals. It's from the sea, so it has a super amount of elements and a lot of nutrients in it. And that is what I do. I can mix that and I just soak it in it for about a day. Sometimes I aerate it just so it stays nice and fresh. But if I'm just going to do a day and quench the biochar, that's what I take and do. And then I just take it out and I mix everything else that I spoke about. But the C90 definitely adds a lot of minerals to it. I have made the biochar also using dry molasses. That works good too. You can use that as your food source. The flour also acts as a food source. You can use bran flour. Of course, when you start getting into the better of the flours, like bran flour, rice flour. You're gonna get much better biochar and as an activation, using that as the food source, it's gonna work out a whole lot better. But I use the white flour and I use the wheat flour. The wheat flour is very good, so I use that. But other than that, this biochar is moist, has a good moisture content. It's not wet, it's not soppy wet. It just has a nice moisture to it. So, also if it was too dry, we would see clouds of black soot coming up from the biochar. So that's what I wind up doing. But I'm also going to show you some active biochar that I did about 2 weeks ago, some about a week ago. When I crushed some of the biochar, I actually separated it and used it for active biochar. In this here, I will separate the sizes. I have 3 different screens that I go through and I separate it. So that's what I'll probably do with this, and I'll bag it up so when I have a sale for some regular biochar, that's what I will do. But I have quite a bit of active biochar. All right, so I'll be right back. I'm going to show you what active biochar looks like. All right, so here's one of my buckets of active biochar. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but you can see the white. That is the active fungi and the bacteria that is growing in the biochar that makes it active. You can see some around the container from where the biochar is on there. So that actually is doing very well. When I pick this up, you'll notice it's crusted. That's active biochar. So what I like to do every now and then is to just mix it up just to get those pieces going through it. And the problem is the biochar activation, that fungi doesn't go very deep, because as it gets deep into the biochar, there's no air, there's no circulation. So you want to kind of mix it up every now and then so that you can get it reactivated. But it's activated. So even though it's in that state and you don't see the fungi or any of the bacteria growing on the top, it's activated. Does biochar have a smell? Sometimes it has a smell because you have to realize that you have a lot of different elements that is growing inside of the biochar. So you will get like a little faint smell to it. So, but this is the active biochar. This is my fine active biochar. Now, in probably 2-3 days, it'll start to kind of look solid again. And then probably in about 5 or 6 days, you'll start to see the bacteria growing on top of the biochar. Let's look at another bucket and see what we got. I haven't opened up these buckets to look at them, so I don't know. And this is what I'm talking about. It's almost like it bakes a cake. Around, it's separated. This is what it looks like. This is another active biochar. This one's going down a little further, as you can see. This one goes down probably about 5 or 6 inches. And you can just see it's clumped. That's the bacteria, that's the fungi, and that's what you really want, as you can see. So it's going through this one real good. So I'm happy with that. That's some real nice stuff. And sometimes, like now it's fall. I'm not adding this to my garden, but there are areas that are still able to garden, and I am able to sell this. So people are still gardening in certain parts of the country, and I mean this one's extremely active. Um, I'm digging deep down in there, and I'm still getting clumps, and it's got a good texture, good moisture. I mean, look at that. I mean, look at that crust. I mean, if I can turn it around, I don't know if the camera will focus to that, but look at that. That's what you want. That's active biochar. You know, that's why I say a lot of times, what you put in is what you get out. If you put good stuff into it, then you're going to get good stuff out. So this is a second bucket. That's really good. I like that. Very happy with that one. That's probably the oldest of the 3 buckets that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you one more bucket. Hopefully I'm putting the camera right into it. It's not too close. You can see the active biochar. This one is my what I would consider regular biochar. It has chunks. Nice active biochar. I mean, even going further down, you can see, it's kind of hard for me to show it, but you can see the fungi. And that's what active biochar should really look like. Throughout, it should have fungi, and it should have all the nutrients just growing throughout it. Trying to show it so that you guys can really see what I'm talking about. How it's got the fungi, and it's got the fungus, and it has, but this is good fungus. It's not bad fungus. The fungus we want. And like I said, it does have a slight smell, but not a foul odor. But that stuff looks good. This is the normal active biochar, but that's what you really want it to look like. So I just wanted to kind of show you my steps that I take from the raw biochar and what we end up with in the end. And that is what I like. I use it in my own garden. I did some pots this year, and I tell you, if I can get a picture of a pot that my wife put together of some flowers, I gave her some biochar, some active biochar to put into her pots. And one of the pots, she kind of put half of the bag in. And when I mean that this plant grew 3 times the size of everything else that got planted roughly around the same time, maybe a weekend apart. This thing grew like you would not believe. And I do partly give that to the soil, the biochar, the minerals that I put into the soil that in that pot. But let me tell you, that flower pot produced flower buds bigger than I ever seen before. So it was phenomenal. So the first thing she said to me was, I need my own bucket of biochar for next year. I don't want a bag. I want to put enough in every one of my pots if they grow like this, if this stuff helps my plants grow like that. So she was very happy with it. She knows what I'm doing when I'm down here in the basement. I'm doing a lot of these things. I'm messing around, mixing different ones, seeing what works the best. So she knows what I'm doing down here. So she's very happy with what I'm doing. But this is phenomenal. I'm very happy with this. So I will continue to do the biochar, whether for sale or for myself, because I do add it into my garden. So, all right. Once again, this is New Era Gardener. Enjoy the rest of your day. This is my active biochar, and this is what we're really after. This is what we really should be looking for. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy gardening. Happy worms. And keep it going. All right now. Later.